I suddenly realized I was the villainous original husband in a novel, and the female lead and I had already been married for 2 years. According to the plot, in just 6 months I was supposed to step aside for the male lead, while spending that time courting disaster and pushing the lead's romance forward. That morning, as usual, I woke up early, made my wife her favorite sandwiches and hand-ground coffee, handed her bag and keys, and saw her out the door. As I watched her car disappear, something suddenly clicked. All the memories I had forgotten came rushing back, and I finally remembered everything. 25 years ago, carrying the memories of my past life, I transmigrated into the world of this book. 3 years later, Uncle Gu next door had a little girl. The girl was as exquisite as a carved jade doll. So my father spoke up. Yunsheng and our Yusen are such a perfect match. Old Gu, how about we betroth them? I didn't hear how Uncle Gu replied. Only the name Yunsheng remained in my mind. In that instant I finally realized where the familiarity of the name, Wen Yusen, came from. Wasn't this a character from a book I had just read before transmigrating? It was a strong female lead romance novel, a standard for that genre. One is a powerful woman, and the other is a sweet romance. In that book, the powerful woman was Gu Yunsheng, a cold, ruthless, and stern overbearing CEO. As for the sweet part, that was Guan Zelin, a cheerful, sunny, in turn with a promising future, a rookie entering the corporate world. He faced countless setbacks and blows at work, but even so, he remained full of passion and hope for life. His persistence and resilience caught the CEO's attention. Instead of blaming his mistakes, she provided him with a lot of help. And so, slowly, the big boss's curiosity toward the intern transformed into a deep affection. Thus, the two of them began a romantic love story. For a beautiful love to be lasting and strong, there must be a few blind fools to act as catalysts. I was that blind fool. Gu Yunsheng and I grew up as childhood sweethearts. We were betrothed since we were children. We married as soon as we reached legal age. I loved Gu Yunsheng deeply, but for her it was more family affection than love. Or rather, Gu Yunsheng didn't even know what love was. Her career and love life seemed to be prearranged. She only needed to follow the script. But Guan Zelin's appearance was like a ray of sunshine, breaking the silence of a stagnant pond, igniting a passion Gu Yunsheng had never felt. However, the two of them remained pure. Though they were surrounded by bubbles of love, they never crossed the moral boundary. To push the plot forward, this was where I entered the scene. As the husband, I quickly noticed my wife's strange behavior, and slowly unraveled the truth to find Guan Zelin. Then came the various ways I suppressed and bullied him. My actions not only failed to harm Guan Zelin, but instead made Gu Yunsheng realize her true feelings for Guan Zelin. At this point, I just want to say, well played. After causing chaos time and time again, Gu Yunsheng grew to hate me more and more. She even asked for a divorce. How could I agree to that? I went straight to having Guan Zelin kidnapped, hoping to destroy him. This completely touched Gu Yunsheng's reverse scale. She used ruthless means to crush the one family. Then she gave me a taste of my own medicine, and got rid of me, and so I died in silence. Lived happily ever after together. Later, they even had twins. When I realized I had transmigrated into a book, I had only one conviction in my heart: cherish life, stay away from Gu Yunsheng. And that's exactly what I did. Before Gu Yunsheng turned 3, I made it clear that I wanted nothing to do with her. I'd hide when I saw her and cry when she was near, determined to be the most familiar strangers. But fate insisted on opposing me. It was actually working. Even our parents thought our horoscopes were incompatible. When she was 3 and I was 6, I took a fall. And then, in my mind, everything about the transmigration was forgotten. My heart and eyes were filled only with Gu Yunsheng. For the next 22 years, I became Gu Yunsheng's obsessive fan. I protected her, pampered her, never letting her suffer the slightest harm, and she tacitly allowed it all, never refusing, which only fueled my obsession. And so, without a doubt, we entered the halls of marriage, more like a grave. I pinched my thigh hard, pinching myself until I grimaced in pain. Damn it, beauty is a curse. After returning to the villa, on the dining table in the living room sat exquisite sandwiches and steaming hand-brewed coffee. Thinking back, starting from 4 days ago, Gu Yunsheng suddenly stopped eating the breakfast I made. Her excuse was that it was too early. I didn't say a word, and continued to wake up early every day to make it. I always thought maybe she'll be hungry today. What if she's hungry and has nothing to eat? But now, with my memories restored, I finally know the reason. It's not that she's not hungry. It's because she's saving room to eat the breakfast Guan Zelin brings her at the office. I took a deep breath, feeling a slight ache in my heart. Sitting at the table, eating my own sandwich, tasted like wax in my mouth. God is a cruel joke. If I had always remembered the transmigration, I would never have crawled toward Gu Yunsheng, knowing full well she would love someone else. Yet I still got entangled with her. Isn't that just pathetic? If I had just transmigrated regretted this very moment. I would have demanded a divorce immediately with Gu Yunsheng and cut ties with all this mess once and for all. But it's been 22 years. I've been simping for Gu Yunsheng for 22 years. I truly loved her. Gu Yunsheng was special to me. I always believed she loved me, even if not as deeply as I loved her. I thought I was still unique to her. Now you tell me, she doesn't love me and has another true love. What am I supposed to do? Just then, the housekeeper walked in and saw me. Sir, what would you like for lunch today? I'll go buy it. Suddenly, something occurred to me. I stood up abruptly. Aunt Wang, make some of the dishes Madam loves. I'm going to her office at noon. Please get things ready. I'm heading out for a bit. I drove away from the villa and headed straight to the hospital. Gu Yunsheng's period is a week late this month. At first, I didn't think much of it. After all, her cycle has always been irregular. But as my memories returned, I remembered something. In the original story, Gu Yunsheng once had a child, but I didn't know it back then. Once, when I went to the office to find her, I opened the door to find her tying Guan Zelin's tie. In reality, there was nothing between them. It was just Guan Zelin's first time wearing a suit, and he didn't know how to do it. And Gu Yunsheng, who often tied mine, was very experienced in this, so she simply lent a hand. But I didn't know that. I went mad. I stepped forward and raised my hand to strike Guan Zelin. Gu Yunsheng stepped in to protect him, but I pushed her away. That one push cost Gu Yunsheng her baby. I was consumed by agony, feeling that I had destroyed her. I almost took my own life, but Gu Yunsheng never wanted the child anyway. I drove steadily toward the hospital. Gu Yunsheng and I have been married for 2 years. We've always used protection. Regarding having children, we had a tacit agreement not to force it. I don't know what she was thinking. As for me, I just wanted a few more years of just the two of us. I soon arrived at the hospital. I went straight to the OBGYN department, and without a doubt, I saw Gu Yunsheng. I watched her wait for the doctor, undergo exams, and wait for the results. The whole process took 2 hours. For those 2 hours, my mind was a complete blank. I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't even try to think. I watched Gu Yunsheng walk out of the clinic, holding the lab report in her hand. She remained silent for a long time. Finally, she tore the paper to shreds and threw it in the bin. The cigarette between my fingers dropped to the ground. It wasn't until I reached the hospital entrance that I finally snapped out of my daze. Watching the crowds passing by, I took a deep breath and drove back. 22 years of affection, 2 years of marriage, and the child in her womb. I refused to let the plot of a book sentence my life to death. Gu Yunsheng, please don't let me down. When I got home, Aunt Wang had already prepared the meal. She smiled as she packed the food into containers. Couples as loving as you and Madam are rare. It's truly enviable. In the past, I would have beamed with happiness. But at this moment, I didn't even have the strength to curl my lips. The villa is only a half-hour drive from Gu Yunsheng's company. It was exactly 12 o'clock when I arrived downstairs. I took the private elevator straight up, reaching the 32nd floor without a hitch. The first person I saw was Meng Yanyu, Gu Yunsheng's assistant. The moment she saw me, her face froze. A flicker of panic crossed her eyes, but she recovered instantly. Sir, why are you here? I gave a light chuckle. Where is Gu Yunsheng? The CEO is in her office. I'll go inform her. I grabbed her arm. No need. I'll go myself. I don't visit her company often, but I still know the way. Walking to the CEO's office, I gently pushed the door open. The office had excellent lighting. Dazzling sunlight streamed through the glass, filling the room with light and warmth. Facing the light, I saw a man and a woman sitting at the desk. In front of them were cute cat-themed lunch boxes. They were sitting very close, savoring the food in their boxes. The man seemed to be saying something, a smile on his face. The woman looked up, listening intently. Perhaps it was the sunlight, but the woman seemed exceptionally gentle in that moment. A kind of tenderness I had never witnessed before. Afraid I was mistaken, I took out my phone and pressed the shutter. Click. Damn. I reacted a beat too late. I've ruined the moment. How pathetic. Both of them seemed completely surprised by my arrival. Their expressions froze for a few seconds. Seeing that expression on Gu Yunsheng's face actually pleased me. I let out a sudden laugh. Gu Yunsheng frowned at me, her expression clearly dissatisfied with my presence. Gu Yunsheng, you're really heartless. Guan Zelin turned pale and stood up abruptly. His movement was too sudden, knocking over the soup container beside him. The soup spilled onto his leg, making him cry out in pain. Gu Yunsheng stood up quickly, pulling him back. I turned and left, unwilling to see what happened next. After all, we are civilized people. I don't want to be like the original story, doing something undignified. Meng Yanyu stood behind me, looking nervous. I shoved the lunchbox into her arms. You can have it. Meng Yanyu looked panicked. I didn't leave. Instead, I went to the secretarial department. When I entered, several secretaries stood up. It seems they all know me. That's for the best. Saves me from having to explain. I looked at them and asked, who is Pei Qinshu? A man groomed to perfection. down to every strand of hair, stepped forward timidly. "Sir, it's me. Is there something you need?" I took my business card from my bag and handed it to him. "I'm very interested in what you're holding. Remember to contact me." Pei Qinshu looked bewildered. By the time I walked out of the secretarial department, Gu Yunsheng was already waiting outside. I masked my emotions, brushing past her with a blank expression, but she had no intention of letting me go. Instead, she grabbed my hand. "Why are you here? Let go." Perhaps my tone was too harsh. After all, I'd never spoken to her like that before. Gu Yunsheng tightened her grip on my hand. "Yusen, stop acting out." I let out a sigh. "Gu Yunsheng, let go. I don't want to talk to you right now." Gu Yunsheng's expression soured, fire burning in her eyes as she looked at me. I stared back, refusing to back down. Wen Yusen have never been a patient man. The only reason I was patient with her was simply because I loved her. Now, I realize it's no longer necessary. I pried Gu Yunsheng's hand away and left the company without looking back. I didn't go home after leaving, but checked into a hotel room instead. Pei Qinshu didn't disappoint me. In just an hour and a half, he contacted me. In the original story, Pei Qinshu was just a minor pawn. He was incredibly confident in his looks. This confidence made him quite arrogant. When Guan Zelin won Gu Yunsheng's favor, Pei Qinshu was consumed by jealousy. You could say, he was the first to discover that something was going on between Guan Zelin and Gu Yunsheng. Driven by a complex mix of emotions, he captured every intimate moment they shared while alone, which became the trigger for my darkening. I'm not interested in becoming a villain, but I love having dirt on people. I paid Pei Qinshu a sum of money for all the juicy gossip he had. I must say he delivered not just photos but videos too. I stared at these for nearly 2 hours, until my eyes were sore and my stomach was growling. I rubbed my temples, though I had no appetite. I couldn't starve myself, so I ordered some food. Just as I hung up with the hotel, my phone rang. It was Gu Yunsheng. I didn't answer and hung up. She didn't call again. After hanging up on Gu Yunsheng, I called Lawyer Sun. "President Wen, is something the matter? Draft a divorce agreement for me. I need it by tomorrow." There was a long silence on the other end. I thought the call had dropped. Lawyer Sun finally snapped out of it. "Who is the agreement for?" I couldn't help but laugh. Did he really think I'd ask him to draft it for someone else? Mine and Gu Yunsheng's. This time, Lawyer Sun reacted quickly. "Understood. I've got it. How shall the assets be divided?" I replied calmly, "What's mine stays mine, what's hers stays hers. I want nothing from the joint assets. Although Gu Yunsheng and I have our own businesses, our joint assets are substantial. If we were to list every investment and collectible, dividing them meticulously would take forever." Lawyer Sun sounded shocked. "Then you're leaving with nothing?" "I don't like the phrase leaving with nothing." "Then let's say whatever she doesn't want goes to me. Gu Yunsheng should be generous enough for that." "All right, I'll draft it immediately and send it over." Lawyer Sun was efficient. In half an hour, he finished and sent it to me. The speed shocked me. I hadn't even finished my meal. I decided to give him a generous bonus at the end of the year. After eating, I prepared to go downstairs to print the agreement and develop those photos. Just as I opened the door, a figure appeared. I was startled. It was Gu Yunsheng, her brows furrowed, her expression dark. I wasn't surprised by her arrival. She is someone obsessed with rules. As long as I was her husband, she wouldn't just let me be. Since I didn't answer her calls, she was bound to find me. She asked in a low voice, "Why didn't you come home?" I replied flatly, "Since you're here, go inside and wait. I have something to tell you. I need to print some things first." As I stepped out, she turned to follow. "I'll go with you." I pushed her away, my tone firm. "No need. Just wait." Once in the elevator, I let out a long sigh. I clenched my trembling fist and cursed my own weakness. When I returned with the prince, Gu Yunsheng was sitting primly on the sofa. She was always like this, meticulous, almost like an emotionless robot. But after seeing those photos this afternoon, I realized she wasn't. The divorce agreement was in my hand, but I didn't take it out. Instead, I asked, "A friend saw you at the hospital today. Are you unwell?" I was still foolishly hoping she'd tell me about the pregnancy, but she only glanced up briefly and then looked down. They must have been mistaken. I didn't go. The heart I had been holding on to finally plummeted off a cliff. 2 copies of the divorce agreement. I took a pen from my bag, signed, and handed it to her. Gu Yunsheng took it, confused. Her expression shifted violently as she read the words. Then she looked up, staring at me in disbelief. "Divorce? You want to divorce me?" I nodded. "Yes." Gu Yunsheng stared at me with a heavy gaze. I met her eyes calmly. She slammed the document on the table. "The reason." I took out the developed photos and threw them in front of her. The top one was of her and Guan Zelin, their backs to the camera as they looked out from a rooftop. The angle was perfect, capturing the moment they locked eyes and smiled at each other. Gu Yunsheng flipped through the photos one by one, her expression calm. Not even her hand trembled as she held them. The contrast with my reaction was stark. After finishing, she looked up, her eyes filled with impatience and hidden rage. "You stalked me?" I was so outraged by her reaction that I laughed. "So after seeing all this, The only thing you care about is accountability? Gu Yunsheng, you're something else. You've successfully shown me just how good you are at dodging the point. But let me clarify. I didn't stalk you. Someone just happened to capture these, and I paid for them. Is there a problem? Gu Yunsheng frowned deeply. That's not what I meant. He and I have a simple superior-subordinate relationship. There is nothing between us. If this is about him, it's unnecessary. I sneered. I know you have nothing. No hand-holding, no hugging, no kissing, no sleeping together. But so what? Am I, Wen Yusen, so pathetic that I have to wait until I'm completely humiliated before I fight back? Sorry, but that's not where my limit is. Gu Yunsheng's gaze turned ice-cold. She stood up and approached me. Wen Yusen, what on earth are you throwing a tantrum about? I told you there's nothing between us. What more do you want? I frowned and stepped back a few paces. Can't you understand plain speech? I said I want a divorce. I cannot live with someone who could cheat at any moment. Gu Yunsheng looked irritated. She roared in a low voice, Wen Yusen, stop this nonsense. Pack your things and come home with me. I can act as if nothing happened. I flared up too. Act as if nothing happened? On what grounds does nothing happen? You do these things and then have the nerve to play games with me? I want a divorce. Now. Gu Yunsheng raised her voice. Shut up. Wen Yusen, I don't want to hear those two words again. You're not a child anymore. Take responsibility for your words. The word responsibility successfully enraged me. How dare she say that to me? I rushed forward and pulled out one of the photos. In it, Gu Yunsheng was eating a bun Guan Zelin bought her, holding a cup of soy milk. The date was the day before yesterday. I woke up an hour early every single morning to grind coffee for you, to make sandwiches, never sleeping in once. I took care of you with the best of everything, and then someone throws you a scrap? And you think it's a delicacy? You call this responsibility? Talking about duty? Gu Yunsheng, are you even worthy? This was likely the first time Gu Yunsheng had been cursed at like this. The way she looked at me, she almost wanted to devour me, but I didn't care. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Gu Yunsheng gave me a deep look. Are you sure you want a divorce? I pushed the agreement and the pen in front of her, proving my resolve through action. Gu Yunsheng's expression shifted several times. Finally, she signed the divorce agreement. She pressed so hard she nearly tore the paper. She didn't even glance at the terms. I raised an eyebrow, suddenly feeling I'd lost out. I should have scammed her for more. After all, no one ever has too much money. With a dark face and simmering rage, Gu Yunsheng stood up and left. Watching her back, I called out to her, bring your ID and household register. Tomorrow morning, I'll wait for you at the Civil Affairs Bureau. She paused for a moment, then left without looking back. Early the next morning, I woke up at the first light of dawn. I checked the time, 6 a.m., a biological clock built over years. No one needed to wake me. No alarm needed. I just woke up naturally. This instinct reminded me once again that years of sincerity had been wasted on a dog. Gu Yunsheng, you're really something. Suppressing the resentment, I buried my head in the covers, intending to go back to sleep. But no matter what, I couldn't fall back asleep. After tossing and turning for over an hour, I finally dragged myself out of bed, unwillingly. Finished breakfast, packed up, and headed to the Civil Affairs Bureau. I waited there for 2 hours. By the time my patience ran out, she still hadn't arrived. I felt miserable. Gu Yunsheng, you're just wonderful. I went straight to Gu Yunsheng's company. When Meng Yanyu saw me, she looked like she was facing a great enemy. Trembling, she said, Sir, the CEO is in a meeting. Would you like to wait in the office for a bit? I imagine my expression must have been terrifying. I didn't make it hard for her and went straight to Gu Yunsheng's office. Just as I sat down, there was a knock at the door. Then Guan Zelin walked in. He was indeed handsome, sharp features, sunny, with a clean aura. He had that perfectly untainted vibe. Sir, here is your coffee. I raised an eyebrow. Delivering coffee? Are you the secretary? Guan Zelin frowned. I'm just helping someone out. Mr. Wen, why be so aggressive? I'm just being helpful. Being helpful? Huh? An intern from the programming department. So helpful that you're in the secretary's office. Are you abandoning your post? Or is she neglecting her duties? Guan Zelin stubbornly set the coffee down. I know you have a problem with me. I interrupted him. Wait, this is only our second meeting. How could I have a problem with you? Why would I even care enough to? Guan Zelin looked stubborn. I know you mind my association with President Gu, but we're just friends. As her husband, you shouldn't even deny your wife the right to have friends. I nodded. A friend who brings her breakfast and makes her lunch. A friend who eats with her. A friend who has free access to her office. A friend who works in another department but during work hours, runs around wherever he pleases. What, did she give you a special pass for all this? We're both men. What these actions imply, we both know exactly what it means, don't we? President Gu put on a face of extreme endurance while pretending to be strong. Gu Yunsheng's expression was grim. She walked past Guan Zelin without giving him a single glance, and went straight to my side. She grabbed my hand. What happened? Only then did I notice the sting on the back of my hand. I looked down. a red mark from the coffee splash. Facing Gu Yunsheng's seemingly concerned look, I felt a wave of indifference. I broke free from her grip. None of your business. Gu Yunsheng's face darkened. What on earth is going on? Guan Zelin looked humiliated. It's all my fault. I accidentally spilled the coffee just now. Gu Yunsheng finally looked at Guan Zelin. Leave first. Guan Zelin glanced at her and stubbornly turned to leave. I sneered. What's with the tragic romance act? Making me look like the villain tearing apart two lovers. Gu Yunsheng glared at me. Wen Yusen, what exactly? Do you want? Do you have to make a scene in public? I looked at her expressionlessly. What? Does it hurt to see me bullying your little plaything? But what can I do? I still hold the title of your husband. Against those homewreckers who throw themselves at you, I still have some right to teach them a lesson. If you really care about your little lover, you shouldn't have stood me up. I waited for you for 2 hours at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Where were you? No appearance, no phone call. Only Gu Yunsheng's time is precious, while everyone else's time is worthless. Right? Gu Yunsheng's face grew darker and darker. The Civil Affairs Bureau? Why did you go there? I looked at her in disbelief. Why go there? For a vacation? To get a divorce, obviously. Gu Yunsheng looked at me. Her breathing became increasingly rapid. Suddenly, she collapsed backward uncontrollably. My heart tightened, quickly caught her. Gu Yunsheng shook her head, looking like she was in great distress. What's wrong? In response to my question, she shoved me away and gagged uncontrollably twice. I gritted my teeth and asked again, what is wrong with you? Gu Yunsheng looked up at me, her face pale, but her gaze ice cold. You want a divorce, right? Then let's get it. I smiled. This was the answer I wanted. Even at this moment, it was what I wanted. Yet, I felt a deep sadness. A surge of emotion welled up from the depths of my heart. My eyes grew hot, and tears streamed down uncontrollably. Gu Yunsheng was shaken. You're crying? I took a deep breath. You're seeing things. Gu Yunsheng's lips trembled. Wen Yusen, we need to have a serious talk. Gu Yunsheng and I are 25 years of life. When I was 6, she was 3. But because of that 3-year gap, felt like I was always chasing after her. When she was 3, I was 6. Just as she entered kindergarten, I started primary school. When she was 6, I was 9. I had just waited for her to start primary school, only for my classroom to be moved from the West Campus to the East Campus. When she was 10, I was 13. Just as she moved to the West Campus, I went to middle school. By the time she entered middle school, I was in high school. By the time she entered high school, I was in college. By the time she finally got into college, I had already graduated and started working. Our life paths were always offset. I seemed to be forever chasing her shadow, but we never truly walked side by side. She asked me what I wanted to eat. I didn't want to overindulge, so I just ordered a few light dishes. Gu Yunsheng gave me a strange look. She added 2 more dishes, then handed the menu back to the waiter, signaling for him to leave. As the waiter left, she suddenly stood up and sat beside me. Unexpectedly, she grabbed my hand. I was startled and instinctively tried to pull away, but Gu Yunsheng stopped me. She looked down at my hand. Don't move. I'll apply the medicine. Her voice was slightly hoarse, making my heart ache a little. She pulled a tube of ointment from her pocket. I'll do it myself. As I reached for the medicine in her hand, Gu Yunsheng dodged me. We've seen everything there is to see of each other, so why be so pretentious now? I turned my head away, not wanting to look. After a moment, a cooling sensation spread across my hand, along with the softness of Gu Yunsheng's fingertips. My heart trembled slightly. Wen Yusen, do you really want a divorce? I didn't notice when Gu Yunsheng had moved back to the opposite seat. Hearing her question, I nodded. Gu Yunsheng took a deep breath. She was agitated. She was suppressing her emotions. Guan Zelin and I have never done anything inappropriate. Not in the past, not now, and not in the future. What exactly are you so bothered about? It's just a standard boss-employee relationship. You've worked before, don't you understand? It's truly a struggle for Gu Yunsheng to be able to repeat these meaningless words to me over and over again. I looked up at her. Why aren't you sitting beside me? Why must you sit opposite me? Gu Yunsheng frowned, looking confused, seemingly unaware of the meaning behind my words. Or perhaps she had never considered this question. From age 3 until now, 22 years. If we count 300 days a year, that's 6,600 days. Let's just say 6,000 days. Assuming 1 meal a day together, we've shared at least 6,000 meals. Out of those 6,000 meals, you never once sat beside me. You always sat opposite me, just like a moment ago, even though you sat by me to apply the medicine. In the end, you still moved back across from me. There was always at least a meter between us. But you and he could sit side by side. How far apart were you then? 5 centimeters or maybe 0. Gu Yunsheng froze. She stood up, looking flustered. I raised my hand to stop her. That was just an accident. That table is the only place to eat in the office. There was simply no other way. I didn't let her finish. I interrupted her directly. Do you remember college? We lived in a one-story apartment back then. Every morning before I left for work, I'd always get up to make you breakfast. At first, I didn't know how to cook. I could only warm up some milk or boil some plain rice porridge, but you couldn't eat that every day. So I taught myself. Whenever I wasn't busy, I'd experiment with different breakfasts at home. Later, I even started making egg-filled pancakes and jianbing guozi. Back then, breakfast was all I could give you. I wanted to make sure you started your day right, but you never had an appetite in the morning. The things I made for you, I could tell you struggled to eat them. So I simplified the elaborate meals. The only breakfast you could actually finish was a sandwich, 2 triangles of toast, a soft-boiled egg with a pinch of pepper, 2 slices of luncheon meat and a leaf of lettuce, and most importantly, no sauce of any kind. You probably didn't even realize this. I figured it out meal by meal. As for the hand-ground coffee, you didn't like milk because it made you bloated. You didn't like soy milk. You couldn't stand the texture, but coffee with milk was perfectly fine for you. I know coffee on an empty stomach is bad, but you love it. Was there ever a single time your stomach hurt because of morning coffee? Do you know what that soup you drink every night is? It's to protect your stomach. I nurtured your stomach day by day. I did that so you could drink your favorite coffee in the morning, so you wouldn't feel pain even if you skipped a meal, not so you could go eat trash. Gu Yunsheng's expression soured. Her lips parted. Finally, she stared fixedly at me. It won't happen again. I shook my head. There is no again. The smile you gave him is one you never gave me, even when we took our wedding photos. From start to finish, you always had the same expression. In Gu Yunsheng's eyes, there was something I couldn't quite read. It looked like panic. I shook my head. How could it be? Since when does Gu Yunsheng ever panic? I rubbed my aching temples. Gu Yunsheng walked up to me. She took my hand and looked at me seriously, as serious as she was when she accepted my proposal. I'll transfer Guan Zelin to a branch office. I won't see him again. Perhaps the boundaries between us weren't handled correctly, but I promise you, I only admire him. I admire his attitude toward life and work. There is nothing more to it. I shook my head in denial. You've fallen for him. Gu Yunsheng's brow furrowed. I haven't. Her tone was decisive, without a hint of hesitation. Gu Yunsheng grew increasingly irritated. This is my own heart. If I say I haven't, then I haven't. I pulled my hand away. Gu Yunsheng's face went cold, staring at me expressionlessly. Gu Yunsheng, I know you too well. For years, the men circling you and trying to get close were countless, but you wouldn't give any of them even a spare glance. But this time, he's different. You've broken too many rules for him. He is the first exception in your 25 years of life. In other words, this is called true love. I am a businessman. If an investment is clearly going to bankrupt me, I will cut my losses immediately to minimize the damage. Gu Yunsheng, you've fallen for him. So, I don't want you anymore. Gu Yunsheng rejected my request for divorce. After all, Gu Yunsheng is neither impulsive nor someone ruled by emotion. Just like in the book, even in the end, she wasn't divorced. She was simply a widow. Thinking about this, I couldn't help but shudder. Gu Yunsheng isn't planning to kill me, is she? I shook my head. Surely not. I can understand the direction of many plots in the book, but there's one thing I can't accept. That is Gu Yunsheng destroying my family, the Wens. That's not something Gu Yunsheng would do. If the one family is destined to fall, Gu Yunsheng at most only lent a hand. The deeper reason must lie within the one corporation. It seems I need to thoroughly audit the company. After speaking plainly with Gu Yunsheng, she seemed devastated. In the end, she only said, I won't divorce you. We will stay together. I felt I had made myself clear enough. I couldn't be bothered to say more. After all, I'm not her relationship coach. I'm not responsible for making her realize her own feelings. I stood up and walked away. She grabbed me. Where are you going? Without looking back, I returned to Guantang. Hearing this, she seemed to breathe a slight sigh of relief. Then wait for me. I'll handle everything. I shrugged, not caring. Guantang was where she and I lived after marriage. She thought I was compromising and going home, but I didn't tell her that I was only going back to clear my things. I returned to Guantang with a team of professional organizers. Auntie Wang was startled. Looking at the commotion, one might think the house was being seized. Auntie Wang looked bewildered. Sir, what are you doing? Moving out. Before Auntie Wang could ask further, I gave my orders. Take down all the photos and murals on the walls. Pack up everything for men in the second-floor dressing room. And move the entire bookshelf from the master bedroom. Throw away all the blankets. Prune the ginkgo tree outside. The rest of you clean the whole room. Remove everything with masculine traits. I came here with a grand entrance, and I'll leave just as grandly. Wang Ma tried to approach me several times, but my calmness pushed her away. She's employed by Gu Yunsheng. Gu Yunsheng pays her salary. Once I leave, we'll have nothing to do with each other. After leaving the residence, I blocked all of Gu Yunsheng's contact methods. Then I went straight to the company. For the next week, I practically lived at the office. I double-checked every single contract and account in the company. Of all the luck, I actually found a problem. the company's CFO, had secretly set up a shell company to commit tax evasion. It would have been better if he kept all the money, but he actually transferred a small portion, under the guise of stock dividends, into my father's account. Not only was it illegal, but he wanted to make my father the scapegoat. This CFO is a company veteran, my father's best friend. He fought side by side with him for years, and always looked after me. Who would have thought? The wolf that bites your neck is right by your side. But it's understandable. If even Gu Yunsheng could change, why couldn't anyone else? Having found the root of the problem, I handed the matter over to Lawyer Sun. During this busy week, many people looked for me. 3 of them are worth mentioning: Gu Yunsheng, Guan Zelin, and Pei Qinshu. I didn't see Gu Yunsheng. I didn't see Guan Zelin either. I don't have time to chat with a side piece. As for Pei Qinshu, I have to say he's a strange one. A strange man with the perfect potential to be a vicious cannon fodder. I don't know what signal I gave him, but he inexplicably started treating me as his boss. He began sharing every single detail about Guan Zelin and Gu Yunsheng with me. President 1. But he actually went to the office to make a scene, saying he'd resign if that happened. In the end, President Gu just told him to hand over his work. After all that fuss, he still didn't leave today. Guan Zelin brought breakfast for President Gu again today, but President Gu didn't take it and threw it in the trash. I have to say, well played. His things belong in the trash, but I think there's something fishy. A month ago, Guan Zelin had appendicitis, and President Gu was the one who took him to the hospital. I took out my phone. The latest message Pei Qinshu sent me: Guan Zelin ran to the rooftop to accidentally meet President Gu again. That place is President Gu's private area. None of us dare to go up there, but he's just great, treating it like his own backyard. I decided to invite Pei Qinshu to dinner. Pei Qinshu replied immediately, "I'm free." I met Pei Qinshu at a Western restaurant. Just as I reached the entrance, I ran into Meng Yanyu. She looked surprised to see me. President 1, did you come alone? Isn't President Gu with you? I was even more surprised. When has she ever accompanied me? Meng Yanyu rubbed her nose, gave an awkward laugh, and left. Chatting with Pei Qinshu was quite pleasant. He's the brainless type, straightforward and blunt. Even when he beats around the bush, is transparent to anyone. I felt relaxed around him. But life is a play, full of coincidences and accidents. For instance, Guan Zelin happened to be part-timing at this restaurant. When he saw me, he instinctively tried to hide. But a second later, he suddenly acted tough. I rolled my eyes. What kind of inspiring underdog act is he putting on now? Guan Zelin looked indignant. You should ask Mr. Wen about that. I looked bewildered. What did I do? I beckoned him over. Tell me, what did I do to you? Guan Zelin's eyes were full of anger and grievance. Mr. Wen, if the things between me and President Gu caused a misunderstanding for you, I can explain. But taking your anger out on my parents is too much. Isn't it? Guan Zelin, I'm giving you a chance to speak. So make it quick. Don't play word games with me here. You aren't qualified to question me. As soon as I finished, Gu Yunsheng arrived, looking exhausted. She was wearing a light gray suit that I had bought for her. My mistake. I thought of everything except the fact that the things I bought for her should be taken away too. I smiled. I spoke too soon. It seems you're also qualified to come and back him up. Guan Zelin turned around with a look of surprise at Gu Yunsheng. But Gu Yunsheng didn't even give him a glance. Her gaze was locked on me, never leaving for a second. I looked at her. She looked haggard, her expression defeated. Coming to support your little lover? Why bother? Doing things so illegitimately? Why not just divorce me? Isn't that more exciting? Gu Yunsheng didn't seem to hear me. She took 2 steps forward and stared intensely at me. Why won't you come home? Why won't you see me? I darkened my expression, not wanting to waste words on her. I looked at Guan Zelin. I know you've been looking for me these past few days. I'll give you one last chance. Speak now. Guan Zelin looked at Gu Yunsheng hesitantly, and after realizing she wouldn't give him any answer, he looked at me with a face full of humiliation. Mr. Wen, why did you fire my parents? They worked diligently at Wen Group for so many years. How could you fire them based on your own selfish whims? What did they do wrong? Guan Zelin's parents were actually in my company? Just my luck, giving the evil original spouse even more trouble. Guan Zelin, you've watched too many idol dramas. Do you know how many people work in my company? Tens of thousands. Who do your parents think they are that I'd personally fire them? Besides, their firing has nothing to do with me, even if I did authorize it. So what? Why do you think I run such a big company and make so much money? To run a charity? As the top decision maker, don't I have the right to fire people with bad character? Guan Zelin was displeased, his face flushing red. How dare you say my parents have bad character? Wen Yusen, you're too bullying. Just because you're rich and powerful, you think you can bully people like this? What did I do? How can you say that about me? I'm just grateful President Gu took me to the hospital. I bought her breakfast and made her lunch just to show my gratitude. What did I do wrong? I nodded with great understanding. I get it. I totally get it. Pei Qinshu, if you had appendicitis, would you call Gu Yunsheng? Pei Qinshu shook his head repeatedly. Do I not have a phone? Can't I call 911? Do I not have parents? They're the first people I'd look for. Am I so pathetic that I have no friends? At worst, I could crawl out and knock on my neighbor's door. And even if I did call President Gu, at most, she'd just call 911 for me. That sentence was a precision strike, cutting straight to the bone. But it made Guan Zelin show a flicker of unnatural joy. I listened with boredom. Don't lose heart, Guan Zelin. Once I'm divorced from Gu Yunsheng, you can take her. For now, just endure it. Don't give me a reason to destroy you. Gu Yunsheng grit her teeth and grabbed my hand. We aren't divorcing. Not now, and not in the future. There is no one else, only you. I tried to pull my hand away, but she wouldn't let go. I pushed a bit too hard and she was thrown back. She stumbled and hit the corner of the table. Her face went pale instantly as she clutched her stomach, gripping my arm tightly. The baby, my baby. Before I brought out the divorce papers, I had hoped Gu Yunsheng would tell me she was pregnant. I thought that as long as she told me, I'd forgive her, regardless of whether she liked Guan Zelin, or if she had feelings for him. As long as she wanted to keep our child, we could start over. She didn't say a word until we were already processing the divorce. I thought she had already aborted the baby. But now she says she's carrying our child. Gu Yunsheng lay on the hospital bed, constantly clutching my hand. I didn't pull away. To be honest, I was tired, exhausted in body and soul. The doctor said she was showing signs of a threatened miscarriage, but her health was decent. It wasn't serious. She just needed a few days of 4 drips to save the baby. After the doctor left, the nurse came to start the 4. The drip was slow. Neither of us spoke. After a long while, Gu Yunsheng spoke. I'm pregnant. And my voice was raspy and unpleasant. Gu Yunsheng's hand trembled in mine. Then she let go abruptly. What did you say? I looked down at her, and her eyes reddened instantly. I'm carrying our child and you ask. And even if I'm pregnant, you still want to divorce me? I struggled to breathe. Our child? Didn't you want to have it? Where did our child come from? Gu Yunsheng shook her head. No, I cut her off. When did you find out you were pregnant? Why didn't you tell me? If you didn't want the divorce, why didn't you say something? Gu Yunsheng's lips pressed into a thin line. Her hand on the bed clenched tightly. I gave a sarcastic smile. Can't answer? Let me answer for you, because you didn't intend to give birth to it. If that's the case, why use the baby as a bargaining chip? When Gu Yunsheng spoke again, her voice was choked with sobs. I'll have the baby. Let's not divorce. Okay? I shook my head decisively. Gu Yunsheng's breathing quickened. I'll have the baby, and we won't divorce. I shook my head. You just want to use it as a chip. Gu Yunsheng suddenly burst into tears. It's my fault for not handling my relationship with Guan Zelin. It won't happen again. Let's start over. Okay? No, I sighed, feeling a bit distressed. No, you can't. You can't because you are Gu Yunsheng. In all these years, the only person you've admitted is a friend must be Guan Zelin, right? Even those who grew up with us didn't receive such an honor. You're just friends now. But what about the future? Gu Yunsheng, ask yourself. If this situation hadn't reached the point of divorce and I just fought and argued with you, or even threatened you, what would you have done? You'd think I was annoying, petty, or just making a scene. You would have told me over and over again that you're just ordinary friends. Do you know what I hate the most? People like you hiding behind the guise of just friends, while acting ambiguously only to blame me in the end. You'd even claim that whatever happened between you was because I pushed you. Why bother? Isn't it better to cut it off at the source? Just cut out the rotten flesh. Gu Yunsheng slowly shook her head, looking at me pleadingly. You can't be like this. These are just your assumptions. Those things wouldn't and couldn't happen. I rubbed my temples. Do you know what risk assessment is? Gu Yunsheng froze. What about our feelings? Our 25 years of affection? Are you really throwing it away so easily? We have a child now. We'll only get better. I interrupted her. Gu Yunsheng, do you love me? Gu Yunsheng looked at me. For the first time, she answered me directly. I love you. I sneered. If you can do such ambiguous, boundary-crossing things while claiming to love me, then what's wrong with me wanting a divorce while I still love you? Gu Yunsheng's face went pale. She looked at me pleadingly, her gaze like that of a drowning, desperate person. I turned my head away, not wanting to look at her. Gu Yunsheng, I'll give you 1 week to think about it. As for the child, if you want to have it, I'll provide. If you don't, I'll accompany you to the procedure. My words were heartless and cold, hurting both her and me. A dull thud sounded behind me. Then came Gu Yunsheng's roar, like a trapped beast. Wen Yusen, Gu Yunsheng stayed in the hospital for a week, making a scene, refusing to eat or receive treatment unless I coaxed her. The doctor tried every way to calm me. But I wasn't entirely heartless in this matter. I went when I had to and brought meals, but I didn't say a word more than necessary. Gradually, Gu Yunsheng fell silent. One day, she suddenly spoke. Yusen, I'm scared. When you're like this, I feel you drifting further away. I don't know what to do. 22 years of history, I'm not a robot. Facing her, I felt sadness and heartache too, but every wave of sadness served as a reminder that she was the one who did this. She was the one who first discarded our 22 years of affection. I went through this logic over and over again. The process was like 1,000 arrows piercing my heart. Gu Yunsheng stroked her stomach, her eyes red as she looked at me. The law states that during pregnancy and breastfeeding, you cannot divorce me without my consent. I felt helpless. Gu Yunsheng, let it go. Why force it? What if I insist on forcing it? This version of Gu Yunsheng made me sad. I gently brushed a stray hair from her forehead. Then, we might not be able to part on good terms. Gu Yunsheng choked out, Yusen, you're too heartless. For 25 years, you gave me the confidence to mistakenly believe that while everyone else might leave me, you, Wen Yusen, never would. But now, you've abandoned me without a second thought, leaving me no room for reconciliation. Her sobbing made my heart tighten painfully. Gu Yunsheng looked at me with red eyes. Yusen, if we could start over, would you still be with me? That question stunned me for a moment. Looking back at the 22 years we spent together. Gu Yunsheng, I am 28 years old. And you have spanned my entire life. You were always by my side. No matter what happened, you were always the first person there for me. You didn't miss a single stage of my life. You witnessed everything. It was only natural that I fell in love with you. I cannot deny those 22 years, just because of the mistakes made now. And similarly, I cannot accept current mistakes, just because of those 22 years. What should I do, Gu Yunsheng? Tell me, what should I do? Tears fell silently from my eyes. Gu Yunsheng stared at me blankly and let out a painful cry. She finally realized exactly what she had done wrong. In a raspy voice, she said, Yusen, I agree to the divorce. Since there were no disputes over assets, the divorce between me and Gu Yunsheng went smoothly. Looking at the freshly issued divorce certificate, I breathed. A long sigh. I felt a sense of loss, yet a weight lifted.
Do you hate Gu Yunsheng?
I don't think it's reached that level, but as long as she held the title of my wife, the things she did felt like a lump in my throat. Only by severing that tie could I truly let go. What do you call this? Let's call it self-preservation. I drove Gu Yunsheng back home. I stopped at the door. She ultimately decided to keep the baby. I don't think it's a wise decision, but the child is in her womb. Cannot strip her of that right. I turned and left, leaving Gu Yunsheng standing there. My parents had returned from their trip. My mother was thrilled to see me. My son is back. Have you lost weight? My father walked down from upstairs. Where's Yunsheng? Why didn't she come back with you? We're divorced. Both my father and mother were stunned. The two of them stood there frozen, staring at each other in disbelief. I handed the divorce certificate to them. My father glared at me. What is wrong with you, boy? Something this significant, and you didn't even think to discuss it with us? Do you still respect us as your parents? My mother gave him a hard smack. Why are you scolding him? If it wasn't absolutely necessary. She didn't finish her sentence. I lowered my eyes with a sarcastic smile. Everyone knew I loved Gu Yunsheng to death. My mother suddenly stepped forward, gently stroking my hair. It's okay, you're back, that's all that matters. Smelling the familiar fragrance of my mother, I felt a lump in my throat. Tears flowed uncontrollably. My heart was full of sorrow. I want to be a child one more time. Let me cry just once more. One last time. By tomorrow I'll be that elegant, all-capable little one. Since Gu Yunsheng could remember, there was always an all-capable older brother by her side. This older brother was named Wen Yusen. He was exceptionally handsome. He told me I was the most beautiful person in the world. I was obedient and cute. He loved me most. When he was 8, Wen Yusen took a liking to Lego. He could sit there quietly building for a whole day. But I didn't like it, or rather, it wasn't that I didn't like it. It was just that I was only 5 and didn't know how. But Wen Yusen didn't mind. When he built Legos, he'd give me a storybook and let me lie beside him. Often I'd fall asleep while reading. Then Wen Yusen would stop what he was doing and cover me with a blanket. One day, a girl came to visit. Seeing the Legos, she wanted to build too. I was unhappy, but Wen Yusen actually nodded. He wanted to build with that girl. I got angry and turned to leave. Wen Yusen chased after me. Yunsheng, what's wrong? Pouting and unhappy. I don't want you playing with others. Without a second thought, Wen Yusen agreed. I won't play with anyone else, only with Yunsheng. Then you can't play with others either. Okay? I remember nodding and pinky promising him. We promised each other from a young age that we'd only have each other. Wen Yusen kept his word, but I forgot. How could I forget? How could I possibly forget? Friends said I was just used to Wen Yusen's presence. It would pass. Anyway, I didn't love him. I thought those were the most absurd words in the world. Slamming the water glass violently on the floor, I let out a low, furious roar. I love Wen Yusen. I only love Wen Yusen. But why? Why do even my best friends think I don't love Wen Yusen? Wen Yusen was always the center of attention. Wherever he was, he always drew everyone's gaze. I hated the way people looked at him. So, as if declaring my ownership, I would throw my school bag at him. Even so, I couldn't be by his side all the time. I was in 10th grade and he was already in college. Though in the same city, the distance grew. One day, I saw a photo in a group chat. Flowers in bloom and flickering candlelight. A girl shyly blocking Wen Yusen's path. That was the first time I felt panic. I rushed out of the classroom and headed back. back. That was the first time I skipped class. But standing outside his campus, I didn't know what to do. Mom once sighed, "You have to speak up, even with those closest to you. If you don't speak, no one knows what you're thinking." When Yusen saw me while returning to his dorm, he happily pulled me into his arms. That searing heat made my heart race and my face flush. I hurriedly pushed him away, but he didn't mind at all. He looked at me with a grin and asked bluntly, "Did you come back because of the photo? Are you jealous?" Before I could answer, he continued, "Don't worry, I won't be with anyone else. I've already rejected her. After all, I'm meant to be Gu Yunsheng's boyfriend." Hearing this, my heart finally settled. Wen Yusen was always like this. He could give me all the security I ever wanted. Thoughts returned to reality. Gu Yunsheng hasn't been sleeping well, and her belly is growing. Her nerves are becoming increasingly fragile. Everyone is urging her to get rid of the child, but Gu Yunsheng refuses. She fears that if even this child is gone, she and I will be completely severed, like that closed-down villa. Without Wen Yusen, the silence is suffocating. Once it was just a cold building. I was the one who made it vivid and warm. The rugs on the floor, the oil paintings on the walls, the vases on the table, the stickers on the fridge, the cushions on the sofa, the ornaments on the shelves, and that ginkgo tree outside. The details she once ignored now feel like nails driving into her heart, piercing and painful. Standing on the balcony from where she is now, she can just see my home, though she can't see me. But under this same sky, she feels she can finally breathe. On those sleepless nights, she asked herself countless times, why did she let things between us get to this point, when they were once so harmonious and happy? Gu Yunsheng narrowed her eyes slightly, recalling her university days, recalling when I confessed to her. It was an ordinary day. I was playing ball in the gym with classmates. I insisted that Gu Yunsheng come watch. Gu Yunsheng sat in the stands, surrounded by many other girls. But every time I turned, I could immediately spot her. Her gaze was intense, a smile on her face. After the game, I went to the locker room to change. Gu Yunsheng intended to follow, to tell me she was leaving first, but I suddenly took my jacket, threw it over her head, and pulled her inside. Gu Yunsheng peeked out from under the clothes. My jacket was draped loosely over her shoulders, covering down to her legs. I looked down at her with eyes full of stars. Little girl, want a date? The kind that leads to marriage. Gu Yunsheng can still remember how she felt then. Heart racing, body trembling, wanting to hug me, to kiss me. Who could refuse such bright eyes? She thought she would always be protected by those eyes. But in the end, she was the one who clouded them. Those 4 years of college were the best of her life. She lived with me. The place was small but cozy. Every morning, I'd prepare breakfast for her and give her a good morning kiss. Girlfriend, just wait at home. I'll earn money to support you. Every night, no matter how late I returned, Gu Yunsheng would be waiting for me on the sofa. I'd always hug her, rubbing my scruffy head against her shoulder, and say, my girlfriend has worked hard. What I gave Gu Yunsheng was always overflowing love. But what did Gu Yunsheng give me? Neglect, coldness, and silence. Maybe it was because I was too good to her. From childhood onwards, she never had to worry about anything. I'd handle it all. I'd remind her to study hard. I'd urge her to sleep early and wake up early. I'd protect her from any harm. I didn't find a girlfriend. I clearly found myself a master to serve. And how did she act back then? She'd get angry, unhappy, and speak coldly. And every time that happened, I'd try to please her. How could I not? Of course I'm happy to, more than happy. Gu Yunsheng's heart trembled. It turns out she never gave me a shred of warmth. It's only right that I don't want her. As I said, she barely ever smiled at me. So what on earth has she been doing all these years? Gu Yunsheng recalled her marriage to me. On the wedding day, she was actually very nervous. More nervous than her first business negotiation. Because of the nerves, her face was tense the whole time. She also heard what people were saying. They suspected the bride was being forced into marriage. Gu Yunsheng scoffed, thinking they were crazy. If she didn't want to marry, who could force her? If time could turn back, she would rush into the dressing room, rush into my arms and tell everyone that this is the man she loves to her core. But there are no ifs in this world. Once missed, it's gone. I gave her absolute certainty, but she gave me years of neglect and indifference. She deserves it. She didn't realize her difference toward Guan Zelin, and even hurt me because of it. She admits she was wrong, but doesn't admit she likes Guan Zelin. But it's undeniable that in her marriage, because of someone else, her heart wandered. After being fired, Guan Zelin came to find Gu Yunsheng. He questioned her. Why are you doing this to me? Clearly, you have feelings for me. Gu Yunsheng asked back. You think I have feelings for you? Guan Zelin nodded firmly. I can feel it. I'm special to you. I know you must love me. Gu Yunsheng, let's be together. Okay? Now that you're divorced, there are no more obstacles between us. We can finally be together. Gu Yunsheng's heart ached. A sharp, suffocating pain. The man who had loved her for over 20 years didn't even dare to say I love you with certainty. Yet someone who had only been in her life for half a year dared to say such words. What exactly did she do? To what extent did she hurt me? Guan Zelin, I don't like you. Not before, not now, and certainly not in the future. If I did something that gave you the wrong impression, I apologize. But if you ever appear before me and Wen Yusen again, I won't be polite. Gu Yunsheng's voice was ice cold. She turned and walked away without a shred of mercy. Behind her, Guan Zelin turned pale, trembling on his feet. Gu Yunsheng, do you think you're so noble? Do you think you're blameless? If you didn't like me, you shouldn't have sent signals that I could get close to you. You're the one who let me in, and now you claim it was all an illusion? Who do you think you are? Now you just want to brush it off and act like you did nothing. Gu Yunsheng was physically and mentally exhausted, lost as never before. So, Gu Yunsheng was nothing more than this. So, the feelings she was so proud of were nothing more than this. The divorce eventually couldn't be hidden from their parents. She was called back home. Her father shook his head at her in disappointment. She had been her parents' pride her entire life. This was the first time she saw her father look at her this way. Gu Yunsheng felt like she was suffocating. The baby couldn't be saved in the end. She cried for a long time. When I went to see her, Gu Yunsheng hid under the covers, afraid to face me. She failed to protect our child. There is no longer a future for her and me. It's not that she didn't want the child. She just felt she was too young and didn't want a baby so soon. I spoiled her too much and she became arrogant, thinking that even if she didn't want the child, she didn't need to consider my opinion because I would obey her unconditionally. But she was wrong. If you love someone, you must accommodate them. Love requires action and words. No one can give forever without expecting anything in return. Don't wait until the feelings are drained to feel regret. Gu Yunsheng was once certain that my love for her was an exception. Now that she regrets it, where is the future? She was once loved by me so sincerely. How could she ever love anyone else?